Introducing Welch's White Grape Peach. Welch's own luscious combination of juicy white grapes and ripe golden peaches. 100% juice with no sugar added. This is a taste you've never tasted before.
Hey, sweetheart, this you gotta try.
Welch's White Grape Peach. Just one of Welch's new 100% juice grape juice blends.
Well?
I've had a Toyota pickup for 6 years, and I love it. It's the fact that I need a bigger truck. And I told them in my letter that I'd like a bigger size truck. They brought it down. They said, here, take a look at this. See what you think. Here it comes. Pretty cool, huh? Hey, guys, come here. At first, you know, I had my doubts that we were all going to get in here comfortably. Roomy, huh?
Yeah, it's roomy.
Hello.
It's roomy.
Introducing the Toyota T100, the answer to the big question.
Get into the snow!
It's Winterfest 93 at Seven Springs, and even if you're not a ski bum, there's no better place to be. Soak up the alpine atmosphere and get into the fun with snow volleyball, inner tube races, the craft show, and the beautiful torchlight parade. Then watch your on-air favorites, the local sports superstars, compete in the outrageous Celebrity Olympics. Join WTAE TV when we rock the mountain during Winterfest 93 at Seven Springs. Sponsored in part by Amoco and Encore 2-pound family-size frozen entrees.
This is WTAE 4 News Tonight, with news for people. Don Cannon, Sally Wiggins, Joe DiNardo, and Tony Zorella. And now, WTAE 4 News Tonight.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight. Cellular phones and cancer. Is there a connection?
Well, tonight, the companies that make cellular phones are trying very hard to convince you there is no such link. They've been forced into defending their devices by allegations that handheld cell phones can cause brain cancer. Ken Rice reports.
I'm planning to meet you tomorrow at 9:30.
Robert Curran is a man on the go, and most of the time, a man on the phone. The director of Pittsburgh's film office, Curran spends hours scouting locations around town. And since he can't afford to be out of touch, he spends hours with phone pressed to head, sometimes making dozens of cell phone calls a day. So what does Curran think about a Florida man who's filed suit claiming his wife grew a fatal brain tumor at the spot where she held her cellular phone to her head?
You know, every once in a while I'll get like a headache, or after being on the phone for a long time, you kind of feel nauseous. And I don't know whether it's the work that I do or it's related to something on the phone. It's made me kind of look at those symptoms in a whole new way.
But there are only allegations of danger, no proof. In fact, industry officials say the proof's on the other side.
The facts are simply this: cellular phones are safe. 40 years of research and more than 10,000 studies have proved that cellular phones are safe.
Motorola, the largest maker of cell phones, has launched a campaign to quash fears before fears quash sales. Already, industry stocks have taken a beating. Locally, cell phone people admit concern, too.
I would be nervous that this would develop into something that would cause fear and concern where there's nothing to be, when it's completely unfounded. We try to stress to all of our customers that there have been no studies that show any kind of correlation.
And for now, that's good enough for Robert Curran, who says while he thinks about the alleged hazard at his ear, he'd have to see conclusive proof of danger before hanging up his cellular phone.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Ken Rice, WTAE 4 News.
Well, tonight the general manager of Pittsburgh's other cellular phone company, Bell Atlantic, told us that the same thing that officials at Cellular One did. There have been plenty of studies, and none of them has linked cell phones with cancer. Concern among industry investors appeared to subside today as stock prices stabilized.
An important approval tonight for plans to replace the old Coriopolis Bridge over the Ohio River between Coriopolis and Neville Island. At a public meeting, the Environmental Protection Agency approved plans for a new bridge, which the county hopes to complete by the end of 1994. The old Coriopolis Bridge can no longer stand up to cold weather. It's closed, and folks have to take a 5-mile detour every time the temperature drops below freezing. A violent holdup tonight in the city's Bloomfield section. 3, possibly 4 men armed with an Uzi submachine gun robbed a convenience store at the corner of South Aiken and Baum Boulevard. We're told at least 1 shot was fired in the store, but no one was hurt. Another move in the borough of Wilkinsburg tonight to stop the rising tide of violence in that community. Borough Council voting tonight to hire 6 more part-time police officers. That would take the Wilkinsburg force up to 14 officers. Council also took comments from residents about other things that can be done to cut down on violence and drugs. One person suggested switching payphones to outgoing calls only to keep drug dealers away. But there was also praise at that same meeting for some kids and grown-ups in Wilkinsburg tonight. Mayor Bob Pitts recognized the bravery of 8-year-old Dwayne Fields and 6-year-old Dashia Harper during a January 15th fire at their apartment building.
Dwayne and Darche did go from apartment to apartment warning the tenants of the fire. Because of Dwayne and Darche's quick action, they were able to warn the tenants and possibly save their lives. I commend Dwayne and Darche for this brave act of heroism and salute them publicly for a job well done.
Mayor Pitts also had special accommodations for part-time firefighter Robert Dimmler and acting Lieutenant John Carlson. During that same fire on Beach Street, the men rescued a child trapped in the basement apartment.
Some help may be on the way for people who were burned out in that terrible fire in Bloomfield a couple of weeks ago. The fire destroyed 2 apartment buildings. It killed 3 people and left more than 50 people homeless. Well, today, Governor Casey asked the federal government to make low-interest federal disaster loans available to those people. The bitter battle over the reorganization of Pittsburgh's Fire Bureau headed to court today. An attorney for City Council filed for an injunction to stop construction on 2 new firehouses, one on the north side, one in Arlington. Those buildings are supposed to replace 4 old firehouses that are being closed. Council says Mayor Masloff cut them and the City Planning Commission out of the process.
To some folks, they're nothing but an eyesore. To others, a selling tool. The bottom line is Pittsburgh has 1,400 billboards with more on the way. Well, today, the Coalition for Billboard Control announced plans not to ban the boards, but sharply restrict their locations.
We specifically want to prohibit future billboards from being constructed in and along our riverfronts and in other critical areas like neighborhood commercial districts.
Public hearings on the billboard question are scheduled for City Council next week. Employees and customers are still very upset tonight about today's news of major cutbacks at Sears. Sears will close 115 stores nationwide and cut some 50,000 jobs to boost its bottom line. One of the stores that will close is Pittsburgh's first Sears store in East Liberty.
This morning I shed some tears. I've been with the company for a long time.
Kim Myers is one of 190 employees who will be out of a job when the Sears store at East Liberty closes its doors in 60 days. Sears is offering early retirement to some. Others may be able to get jobs at one of the other 22 remaining stores in the Pittsburgh area. The store's customers are afraid they won't have as many options.
We're going to miss it because it was very convenient.
The closest store now is a Monroe store, so I think that the East Liberty store is much needed.
It's just that everything is going. We're losing so much of the business, and it's inconvenienced the customers.
But the store's general manager says the newly remodeled East Liberty store wasn't making money. And that's the bottom line. It's one of hundreds of Sears stores across the country that are being closed in the streamlining necessary, the company says, if Sears is to remain strong.
Retailing and insurance will be our major thrust. Our strategy for the next 10 years is to develop and grow those businesses we know we can make a profit, to stand behind the shareholders, our associates, and to make the kind of money we need to stay in business.
East Liberty business boosters admit the closing of the neighborhood Sears store will hurt, especially since it comes on the heels of the closing of the East Liberty appliance store only last month. But they say the East Liberty Business District will survive.
We're encouraged that it's a blow that we can overcome, that we'll be able to work with Sears and work with the communities, get a good use on that site, and keep moving forward. The fact that Moda Square Garden was able to find a new use for that site, so that we never say die.
Also, who didn't make it, we think we can make it, as long as we have a lot of good stuff.
Now, we're told the East Liberty store will close at the end of March, and Sears officials say that should not come as a great surprise because the company's been trying to keep its market share and has dropped from number 1 to 3 among the nation's top retailers.
Don, the other big casualty from today's announcement, the famous Sears catalog. Sears says the catalog's lost money for the past 3 years, and the spring edition will be the last. A lot of people will be sorry to see it go. The Sears empire was founded on catalog sales way back in 1886. Over the years, the Sears catalog grew to become the biggest in the world. Wall Street apparently approves of the cutbacks at Sears. At the close of trading, Sears stock was up 1 5/8 at 50.5. The rise started just hours after the company's announcement.
Striking Teamster garbage men in Plum Borough are fighting to keep their jobs tonight. Borough managers opened bids today from independent haulers that want to take over Plum's garbage collection. The bids show the borough could cut its trash costs by half by going private. The Teamsters will get a chance to make a counter bid. While they bid on strike, folks in Plum have had to haul their own trash to 2 central pickup points. Nursing homes across Pennsylvania are getting set, bracing themselves for a possible strike soon. Members of the Service Employees International Union are threatening to walk out on February 8th in a contract dispute. The union will announce tomorrow whether or not the strike is on. If it does happen, 45 nursing homes would be affected.
The gunman who killed 2 people outside the main gate of the CIA this morning is still on the run. The man stood outside the parking lot and shot into the windows of cars waiting to pull into the compound. In addition to the 2 people who were killed, 3 other people were injured. No one's saying whether the attack is related to CIA business. Some more shocking revelations in the Rodney King beating case in Los Angeles today. The LA Times printed transcripts of cop car radio transmissions. They suggest the 4 officers who beat King were mad that he took them on a 7-mile car chase and beat him up to punish him. Those officers go on trial next month in federal court on charges they violated Rodney King's civil rights. Pittsburgh school officials went behind closed doors today to talk about what to do about the perception that there's danger at school sporting events. No one's saying what they decided. It comes after Friday night's embarrassing forfeit by the Carrick High School girls basketball team. Their parents didn't want them to play at Taylor Alderdice High School because of a fight earlier this month outside a boys' basketball game at Taylor Alderdice.
And coming up next tonight, Mayor Sophia Masloff makes an announcement about her political future.
Bill Clinton faces the first big political battle of his presidency. What to do about gays in the military? That story when we come back.
Introducing the Oldsmobile Price Rollback. Here's one example. Oldsmobile has taken one of its most popular models, the Cutlass Supreme, equipped it with air, automatic, V6, cruise, power windows and locks, cassette, fog lights, pulse wipers, and all these other popular features. Then, Oldsmobile rolled back the price from $18,633 to $15,995. That's right, $15,995. Hurry to your Grand Olds Gang dealer. Current supply limited, orders being accepted.
Hey, you! It's Clarence the Crusher. There's too much food in these Encore Salisbury steaks.
Tell him, Crusher.
How can I eat all these juicy, charbroiled steaks in rich, beefy gravy?
But Crusher, Encore is a 2-pound family-size entree.
I don't have a family.
I do. And we love Encore. We'll be over at 6 tonight.
Really? You will?
Al, about this Encore Veal Parmigiana.
5 tomorrow?
Oh.
For tasting more, it's Encore.
When it matters to your community, it matters to us. WTAE 4 News and the Gateway Press are giving you the chance to speak out and be heard. Our monthly town meetings have given citizens in Sewickley, Carnegie, and Cranberry the opportunity to resolve issues with community leaders. Now we're coming to Murraysville. Join anchor Sally Wiggin for our next town meeting Wednesday, January 27th at the Franklin Regional Auditorium at 7 p.m. Because news matters, it matters where you get your news. WTAE 4 News.
This new year, you can replenish your office supplies without exhausting your money supply at OfficeMax, the supermarket-sized stores with thousands of brand-name items drastically discounted every day. Get big savings on the Panasonic fax and answering machine with full-function telephone and answering system. And save on the Panasonic dual micro-cassette answering system with LCD call counter and time and day stamp. We can't guarantee you a great year, but we can guarantee you great prices. OfficeMax, where savings is the bottom line.
A simmering controversy over whether the ban on gays in the military should be lifted kicked into high gear today.
President Clinton and his Joint Chiefs of Staff met for 2 hours today to talk about it, but the meeting broke up this evening with no sign either side had given ground. And Clinton reportedly told the chiefs he'll act within a week to lift the ban. Before the meeting began, the president said he'd find the least disruptive way to lift the ban on gays in the military. But he made it clear he's made up his mind about the ban itself.
But I intend to keep my commitment. I want their input on how we should do it, however. I think they're entitled to really be listened to on a lot of the practical issues.
Pentagon sources say the military is willing to compromise, keeping the ban but no longer asking recruits if they're gay and ending investigations if designed to expose homosexuals. The effect would be to accept homosexuals as long as they keep their orientation private. For its part, the White House says it's willing to write tough new prohibitions against sexual misconduct by homosexuals and heterosexuals. But that's not enough to satisfy the Joint Chiefs of Staff, led by General Colin Powell. They say aside from the problems of gays and heterosexuals serving side by side, the Clinton administration hasn't thought through considerations like providing spousal benefits to gay couples or allowing them to compete with traditional families for scarce base housing.
Okay, so you do not want the ban to be lifted on homosexuals in the military.
In the meantime, the offices of some senators were swamped with calls today from people who want gays kept out of the military. And some senators are openly criticizing the president for moving too fast and freezing Congress out of the process.
Anyone who thinks that you can just make a decision, sign an executive order, and that's it, hasn't looked at the underlying questions.
I would suggest that his level of knowledge is about zero, since he never served in the military. He's not consulted, to my knowledge, of any military leader on active duty, nor any veterans organizations.
The latest ABC poll on the subject shows a narrow majority of Americans favor lifting the ban on gays in the military, 50 to 44%. But opinions definitely run along age and gender lines. Women and young people tend to be for lifting the ban, men and older people against. Another U.S. serviceman was shot and killed in Somalia tonight. All we know is that the man was a Marine and that he was shot while he was on patrol in northern Mogadishu. He's the third American to be killed in Somalia since Operation Restore Hope started.
Well, President Clinton's wife, Hillary, has a big job ahead of her. The president picked the First Lady to oversee a health care task force that's supposed to come up with a plan for universal health coverage in 100 days. She will not get paid for her work on that task force. In the meantime, flags are flying at half-staff at the federal building here in Pittsburgh and government buildings across the nation tonight in honor of the late Thurgood Marshall. Justice Marshall died yesterday of a heart attack at the age of 84. He served on the U.S. Supreme Court for nearly 25 years. A lawmaker from Munhall has taken the first step toward the possible impeachment of State Supreme Court Justice Rolf Larson. Today, Representative Chris McNally called for the appointment of a special House Select Committee to investigate possible wrongdoing by Justice Larson. The state Senate would have to then take action to actually impeach Larson.
Will she or won't she? Pittsburgh Mayor Sophie Masloff says she'll tell us by the end of the week whether she plans to run for re-election.
I don't know what I'm going to do if I wasn't the mayor. So I'm just considering the thing about him.